Hey there, we're the Westlot Pirates and welcome to the show. We're here to share our thoughts on Northwestern athletics and college sports with thoughts and analysis from the visceral to the statistical. We run our tailgate with the red pirate flag flying high above as we give no quarter, especially the fourth. I'm Sam Walter.
I'm John Lacombe.
And I'm Eric Skoskauspo.
We've got some news to talk about. We got some lacrosse coming up, kind of the end of the season for softball. Baseball is coming up in just a little bit. But, just as we get closer and closer, it's interesting. We wanted to talk about all of the talk of the Rose Bowl, the 1995 football team really was the turning point in Northwestern kind of football history, right? I mean, that's what turned, from the old age to the now modern age. But I mean, we've been wanting to talk about the 2000 era, like the 2000 team that also tied for the Big Ten championship. I mean, we talked about it briefly with Kevin Fishbane a couple of weeks ago. And I still don't feel like we've given that team its due, and just sort of in general, right?
Yeah, I think obviously this, particularly for Scuzz and I, it was our junior year. That is
the formative years, if you will.
Yeah, I was going to say, you could call that the bedrock of this pod for the two of us. That's when we were dipped in the magic waters, so to speak. So yeah, I mean, we went deep on the Michigan game in particular, but and coming out of that discussion with Fishbane, we got feedback from multiple people being like, don't stop there. We want to talk more about that season. We're like, we want to talk about it more too.
So we're going to call Lloyd Carr. No, we're not going to do that. We don't have that kind of cachet.
Yeah, and then he's going to hang up on us.
That would be great, though.
Just call Lloyd Carr out of the blue.
But yeah, we were reminded that it's, that in addition to, an opportunity to talk about the 2000 season, this is the 20-year anniversary of Randy Walker's passing. And that's obviously that, for Northwestern fans, Randy Walker is always going to be synonymous with that magical season, that 2000 season. And it makes sense that we honor Randy Walker by talking about it more. So we're going to be doing that more in the future for sure, in the near future.
It's really cool, finding out a little bit about the Randy Walker Legacy Foundation golf outing that they've got coming up. It's really cool, and just kind of starting to look at it, and it's neat, and we'll talk more about it as we go. But I think for tonight, we do have some more pressing business to discuss insofar as the number one seed women's lacrosse team is now one game away from the Final Four yet again. Lacrosse beat James Madison big time over the weekend, and on Thursday afternoon gets a return match with the Colorado Buffaloes. Second go around. It's not often that the number one seed gets a revenge spot in the tournament, but here we are.
It's all pretty wild. Starting with the number one seed, I don't think many of us saw that coming, just because even when things were at their very best for this team this season, it felt like we were always looking up at North Carolina in the polls, and it felt like, this is the classic Northwestern disrespect that everyone always talks about that extends to all Northwestern sports, not just lacrosse, but that East Coast bias being what it was, the lacrosse power structure being what it was, that we weren't going to get ahead of North Carolina, especially with them only having one loss to our three, even though we beat them in their barn. And what do you know? They got the number one seed, and which is great. It was totally deserved. And then
I just liked when you joked on Twitter, John, about how that was had Northwestern fans feeling very uncomfortable. Just a weird place that we haven't usually been in.
I know.
We're not getting the benefit of the doubt.
Actual respect. Yeah. What's that?
I know, exactly. I mean, and then, sorry, James Madison, but you were first up on the revenge tour and as we talked about it, Northwestern's chance to be at home throughout the entire postseason, and that started with this JMU. I think JMU played, was it Notre Dame in the
Notre
opening
Dame.
round? Beat Notre Dame, and then Northwestern just absolutely throttled JMU. Maddie Taylor, 8 goals.
Moving into second all time in the postseason scoring. Actually, a couple good games away from Izzy Skane. I mean, like, she's in the neighborhood.
I know. Had me doing the math. I was like, oh man, she's definitely got a shot at this. I mean, if she throws 8 goals up a couple more times. But,
well, we're going to need every goal we can get against Colorado, because this is a team built in the image of the old Northwestern teams that just tries to shut you down and suffocate you. So they won their second round matchup against Denver 11-9. They won their first round matchup against Jacksonville 10-9. This is going to be Northwestern offensive firepower against one of the best defenses in women's college lacrosse this year.
They're hot too. This is a team that, they showed the entire season that win, which was their season opener against Northwestern, that win was no joke. They're 16-3, but they've won 12 of their last 13, and the only loss was to a Florida team that was a top 5 team, and they avenged that loss. They beat Florida subsequent to that. So, yeah, they're on fire. Their coach, as we discussed back after the upset, is a NU alum, played for Kelly Monty Hiller at NU. They're really good, and they're really hot right now. But again, I mean, it's the opportunity for the revenge, right? And I mean, obviously the Cats are playing so well right now. Jenica Cuoco in goal is incredible. Maddie Epke, who was a transfer from JMU, had a goal and 4 assists in that game. Aditi Foster had a hat trick. Like, the Cats are firing on all cylinders right now. I think we're all very aware of that. This is a team that is, ever since that one horrible weekend, has gone into an absolute other level. But yeah, Colorado's here for a reason. They're very, very good.
And if you look back at the game that the Cats played against Colorado early in the season, Cats had a lead. It was kind of a back and forth affair. I mean, Colorado went up in the first. Northwestern came and tied it up, and then in the third took a lead. They were up 8-6 before Colorado outscores the Cats 4-1 in the fourth quarter to come from behind, get the dub. So again, like you were saying, a very tight game, a 1-goal game, and we've shown more recently that we have the ability to win those 1-goal games in dramatic fashion. In some cases, the Big Ten championship, I'm looking in your direction.
Yeah.
But I think, the Cats definitely have, I mean, they're peaking at the right time. I mean, they've turned it on down the stretch. Yeah, the rough kind of starting with that loss to Colorado early, and then the aforementioned weekend of hell that you mentioned earlier, John. But, things are really kind of clicking. Home crowd, which is going to be awesome. It's a Thursday afternoon at 1:30. So if you're able to kind of work from the stands, pull out your hotspot, get up, bring your laptop to the stadium if you need to. But
I believe I will be going to this game. My schedule allows me to do so, and I think I'm going to be there. So if anyone, hit us up on Twitter, hit us up on Blue Sky, whatever. If you're going to be there, I'd love to link up with you. But I'm looking at the schedule right now. 65 and sunny is what I'm seeing. That's beautiful spring lacrosse weather. Yeah, I'll take that all day. So yeah, this is huge. Obviously, this is a huge game. And that the elephant in the room that has been the fact that we're hosting the Final Four this year and that we want the Cats to be playing, it's all arrived at this moment, right? They're finally here, and they finally have one game to play to officially host the Final Four as the number 1 overall seed. And yeah, and it happens to be against a really hot Colorado team that suddenly we have some big-time history with.
Unfortunately, as we kind of pivot from lacrosse to softball, unfortunately, and like Cats do not make the NCAA tournament for the first time in a long time. Got bounced in the first round of the Big Ten tournament to Penn State. But like going into the Big Ten tournament, they were just on an absolute tear. They won a ton in a row. And then, you get into the tourney and then just, lose to Penn State and that's it. Turns out that the Cats were one of the first 4 left out. I saw that today. Just, if the NCAA would expand the softball tournament like they're doing the basketball tournaments, then we're in. But yeah,
it really was sad and jarring. And we haven't gotten a chance to talk about it on the pod because we didn't record last week, but I went with my wife and our daughter and our daughter's friend to the regular season finale, against Minnesota. And it was fantastic. I mean, the weather was absolutely beautiful. It was a pitcher's duel to start out, before the Cats exploded, I think, in the 6th and just went off and put up, I think, 6 runs. And it was just an awesome rally. And Marina Mason was on fire. She pitched, I think, a one-hitter with, I think, was it 14 strikeouts? It was a ludicrous performance. And our daughter was super excited, and her friend was super excited because every time Marina Mason got a strikeout, they would throw T-shirts into the crowd. So the kids, the whole thing became about getting T-shirts for them, and they got one T-shirt. So it was all that, and it was all the good. It was a beautiful day, and it was a chance to go out there and see what is going to be the last game in Rosemont for a while. And then and that was on the stretch of they coming through that game, they'd won 12 of their last 13. And you just kind of felt like, oh, well, here they go. And now rolling into the postseason. And then bang, like on that random, whatever that was, a Tuesday night or a Wednesday night, just a weird, squirrely night game that was the 4th game of the day in the Big Ten tournament. And Marina just bizarrely just doesn't really have it. And the Cats give up a ton of 2-out runs. And that's it. And then the season's just suddenly over. And it was a surprise. It was jarring, and it's just a real bummer for this team that it ended this way. In particular, I think partially because I was just at the game, and as we've done, before. I think back to the women's non-revenue sports tailgate that we did a couple of years ago in the spring, and all the great conversations we had with so many of the softball families then. Got to see a bunch more of those softball families and talk with them as their daughters were posing for photos with the kids. And great to have all those conversations, but in particular, talking with Kansas Robinson's family, Kelsey Nader's family. It's just, these are, Kansas and Kelsey and Grace Nito, these are awesome players who've just been in our sports lives for a long time. And it just really sucked that it just ended like that. That it was, that random Big Ten game, and then, that's it. They're, they all deserve better. I mean, they all had incredible careers, and, they'll be celebrated at Northwestern for a long time, but it just sucks. They deserved better. They deserved a regional, and they didn't get it.
Yeah, it's only the second time in the last 10 years that the Cats have not made the tournament. 2017 was the other year. Of course, there was no tournament in 2020. So I think, John, your word jarring is pretty spot on. I think, I don't know, it's also like it was pretty clear from the get-go this season that this team was struggling. And that's not to take anything away from what they went on such a great run in the Big Ten regular season and really found themselves. But I think the hallmark of so many of the teams we've seen in past years is they make some noise early on, and they've got some smoke to give some of the other big non-conference schools. And I think this team just struggled to find their footing this year and had a few too many hiccups on the way. And that is unfortunate, but it is sometimes the way it goes.
And as Marina Mason just emerged as the ace of the staff, she didn't start off the season as the ace. It took them a little while to realize what she had, and she took a few games to really kind of kick it to the next level, I think.
I think it was kind of I mean, it's wild to talk about. I mean, we had multiple discussions about how it was pitching by committee at the start of the year and how unusual that was. That is not where we ended up. It was the Marina Mason show by the end of the year.
She's just she's a freshman. Like, she carried the team, the pitching staff on her shoulders down the stretch. I mean, it was really the Marina Mason show pretty much all the time down the stretch. And you're a freshman and, maybe just ran out of, I don't know. Did she run out of gas in the tournament or what happened? But that's just like,
I was so close. I was thinking about that against Penn State too, because there was at least like one other random game that was like that. I don't know if it was Michigan or if it was one of those where she just gave up a bunch of runs. But this is not like the list of games like that is so small. And I do think that it became so clear that she was carrying so much of the weight of our battery that I think Coach Drohan was trying to leave her in as much as she possibly could be left in. So she probably absorbed some runs that, we've drawn so many parallels with Alabama, because that's where the other top first year's pitchers are right now. And it's like, well, they have two of them. So there's no pressure on one of them. If one of them happens to have a bad inning, they're not leaving her out there to see how it goes for another inning or two, because they have lots of other weapons in their battery, right? And once we found out how special Mason was, we, rode her as much as the team could. But yeah, and it stinks because Scuzz is right. Like this team takes all comers and has been taking all comers at the start of the season for a while, playing these brutal schedules. And this year they just ended up in like a big hole, and they tried to dig out of it as much as they could. It does bear mentioning though that what we're calling the cluster duck, which is that ridiculousness with Oregon leaving to catch that plane flight. I mean, there's no real way to sugarcoat it. When you're talking about a team that's first four out of the tournament, so that's the margin, first four out, and you're telling them, but for a ridiculous call that the Big Ten made, this team could have an additional top 10 win and a series win over Oregon. When the margins are that tight, you don't want to be in that position. And again, we even said that on Twitter, and people were like, they shouldn't have lost to DePaul, they shouldn't have lost to Minnesota. Sure, but getting screwed out of a win is getting screwed out of a win, and the Big Ten's not going to let that happen again. But it sucks. I mean, there is a world where the Cats have that win and they do get into the tournament, and I just hate that that's even in the calculation at all.
Yeah, I hear what you're saying. Control what you can control, and I know. I think we got a gift. Gift is the wrong word, but we got a pretty favorable call to end another game that was a win. So like sometimes breaks go your way and sometimes they don't. And I think it was, there was no guarantee we were going to win that. So it is what it is. But it doesn't take away from like the jarring factor that for the first time, really for the first time since we as a podcast have been talking about Northwestern women's softball, because we've been doing it regularly for several years now, and they have not missed the postseason in a decade since 2017, and that's a big deal.
And also, just it felt like this is a really good team. I mean, I mentioned Kansas, Kelsey Grace, Bridget Donahue, Marina Mason on the mound, Emma Flippin Ray just crushing everything like behind home plate, Kaylee Avasado. Like, this team has a lot of good players and feels like a good team. And they took their lumps at the end of the season, and they're really thin pitching and pitching wise. But I mean, it was a good team that really, on the measure of things, was awesome the whole second half of the season. And for all of that to somehow not end in the postseason is just bizarre. Like, it doesn't feel like this is a bad team. Like, it doesn't feel like, well, the reason why this team didn't make it and all those other teams did is because that's not how it felt. This team felt like they were stacked with a bunch of great players, and in recent memory were just playing great softball and then didn't make it. So yeah, it's a bummer.
That said, I mean, the future is bright. I mean, I understand, like, this year was weird, playing out in Rosemont. I mean, harken back to when basketball had to play out in Rosemont for the season.
It doesn't seem to go well.
Yeah.
And might I add to that, like, thank God football played in the lake the last 2 years instead of as a roving, traveling band of misfits.
Lambo.
Which, I mean, we've talked about this a whole bunch.
Amen. Amen to that. It's the and to your point about like the future being bright. I mean, like, right, the new J is going to be opening up.
My understanding is they're going to be playing fall ball in the new J, which is awesome. Yeah. That's fantastic.
Is it Kirkpatrick Field at Sharon J. Drysdale Stadium? Is that what it is?
Ooh, I would need to
because
check that.
I was thinking about this because I'm like, the K at the J sounds like a great, it rolls right off the tongue, so I'm just throwing up the trial balloon on that. But you know, Marina Mason coming back for a year or two, and supposedly some great pitching on the way, like more first year pitching coming in, and plus doing whatever the portal. Speaking of the portal, Riley Grudzelanek announced that she's transferring out, which best 3 good years from her. Best of luck to her. She was an important part of the pitching battery for us for the past couple of years. I couldn't believe she's already been at Northwestern 3 years. Time flies. And I'm sure she has her degree or is getting her degree and will be transferring out. So all the best to Riley G. It's just amazing. Like, I can't believe that she's already probably earning her degree and moving on is incredible.
Yeah, and, you know, obviously Kate Drohan is recruiting like she always does. I mean, bringing in some pretty promising young pitchers as well, I understand.
Yeah, so there's a lot coming. And I mean, this is on the back of Marina Mason, where there was some moment like mid-season where we were just like, I can't believe that she does this and Michelle Gascoigne does this. Like, I can't, like, somehow we always have an absolute ace year after year after year. And it's always one of the Big Ten's best and one of the nation's best. And somehow we always do it. And we were having this discussion at the beginning of the year, being like, boy, for the first time in forever, pitching guy committee, nope, amazing ace again. Just, it's incredible how they do it. And yeah, it sounds like there are more gems that are going to be coming in.
If you or a loved one is seriously injured by someone else's negligence, hire Kent Simpson of the Simpson Law Group. After over a decade prosecuting murder cases in Chicago, Simpson opened his own firm focused on wrongful death and personal injury cases. He specializes in car, truck, motorcycle, boat, and other transportation accidents, as well as construction accidents, medical negligence, slip and falls, product liability, and more. Millions recovered for clients, no fee unless he wins. The Simpson Law Group, compassion, empathy, and vigorous advocacy. Go to simpsonlawgroup.com or call 312-332-2107 for a free consultation. And go Cats. Baseball, they're handing the last homestand of the year. It's been a rough run. I mean, it's no sugarcoating of that. They're not in the Big Ten tournament, right?
I don't know if they have one series left against Rutgers, and I don't know.
I'm pretty sure I read that's just for pride at this point.
Okay, so
I'm pretty sure.
Yeah,
I'll double check that, but
yeah, it's been rough. I mean, it's gone as bad as it could go, as south as it could go, and it's amazing that we were so glass half full, and I feel like with good reason early on in the season, and being like, there's a lot of potential here, and we were going through last in the Big Ten in batting average, last in on-base percentage, third most strikeouts in the conference. They're the third highest team ERA in the conference. Teams are hitting 300 against us. Like, we can't pitch, we can't hit. And we have 3 guys who can hit for power. Lausch, McElpatrick, and Kucherek are 11th, 22nd, and 26th in the Big Ten in home runs. But that's basically it. Aside from that, it at the end of the day, it just ended up being a really rough year and a step back.
Maybe we end our spring sports commentary on a up note, though.
Absolutely.
Sure.
Let's talk about golf.
Oh, yeah.
So the men and the women have been invited to the NCAA regionals this year. This is the precursor to the national championship. And the men I believe, are an 8 seed out of 13 teams participating in the NCAA Athens Regional, of which the 5 top teams and the low individual outside of those top 5 teams will go on to the national golf championships. So that starts up not this weekend, but next. And then the women are the 6 seed in the women's regional, which will start this weekend.
Actually,
no, it's already
going.
Yes, it is already going.
As we record this on Tuesday, we are 1 stroke back of the lead. Tied for second with Southern Cal.
Outstanding.
One behind Ohio State. So yeah, one stroke behind Ohio State for first.
And I mean, it's not even a year since Deanna Lee was walking up the 18th into the setting sun in Carlsbad. I mean, it's like that team's got magic when it hits the postseason.
If they can stay in the top 5, they will advance to the championships, which are in looks like about 2 weeks, 2.5 weeks. So that is very exciting. Tomorrow, the 13th. I guess by the time people hear this podcast, the regional will mostly be over.
Unless I burn the midnight oil and get this thing up quickly.
Yeah, but that's awesome. So they are well positioned, have a great opportunity to advance.
Yeah, I mean, if 5th place is the cutoff, they are 6 shots clear of 5th. So actually, in 6th place is plus 13, and Cats are at plus 2. So for them to drop out of the top 5 would be a pretty big comeback by Central Florida. And obviously, like, a lot can happen
it can happen,
like,
but
for sure, like, this is not, they're not packing it in and calling it a day. Like, you still got to play, but
this is where being battle tested in knockout golf really counts, though, and this team has a lot of players who are.
For sure, Ashley Yoon, Deanna Lee, both on last year's team. Sintai Lin was also on last year's team. I think Megan Meng and Lauren Lee are new this year, or at least new to the rotation in the playoffs. So,
and as you mentioned, men's golf is going to be in Athens starting on Monday. So, 3 Big Ten Conference postseason honors for the men. That's awesome. We have never really talked men's golf. But it's very, very cool.
Do better, men's golf. We'll talk about you.
So Daniel Svard. I hope I'm pronouncing that right. It looks like a Norwegian or some Scandinavian markings over the A. But all Big Ten first team for the 3rd consecutive year. Redshirt sophomore Rowan Sullivan was all Big Ten second team, and Jeremy Chen got the Big Ten Sportsmanship Award for the 2nd consecutive year. So. Nice run for men's golf as well. So we'll keep an eye on that next week. Which all the best for the women on Wednesday, and we'll go from there. We'll see what happens. Finally, and not really a whole lot of football to talk about, but
can I just say real
quick?
It's really funny. Well, it's really funny. We've been talking for like a half hour, and we're just getting now to the only piece of Northwestern-related news that broke into the wider sports news cycle this past week, maybe even over the past couple of weeks.
Yeah, interesting. We got a commit from quarterback R.J. Day. If that name sounds familiar, yes. It is the son of Ohio State head coach Ryan Day. He committed.
In fact, it is Ryan Day Jr.
Indeed,
he goes by RJ.
Indeed, but yeah, I mean, he signed. He's putting up monster numbers in high school in Columbus. So, we'll see what happens here. But that's a big name and big in name, and we'll see how he is on the field.
Yeah, well, I think notably, his dad played for Chip Kelly at New Hampshire.
Yep.
And that's where, he talked about that when he announced the signing, et cetera. So I think also, there's plenty of like, why wouldn't you have gone to Ohio State? And I think we've entered a world where a coach of Ryan Day's caliber at a school of Ohio State's caliber is like those roster slots and those scholarships have tremendous value associated, and not like using it to bring your son in when your son is a 3-star and probably not gonna hold a strong candle to a lot of the talent that you could be bringing into that roster. It kind of makes sense. But I think this is, it's always nice to get in the news, and we'll see what kind of contributions Ryan makes at Northwestern down the road. But I think seeing the impact and influence that Chip Kelly can have for the Cats in breaking through that wider news cycle, like there's value in that.
Absolutely. And Ohio State is, they, in their mind, they need to be getting 5-star quarterbacks every year. Right. And that's where,
especially because however many they bring in, like about 60% of them are going to leave.
Exactly. And, could RJ have walked on at Ohio State and played for his dad? Probably, yeah. But, he comes to Northwestern, has an opportunity to get coached by Chip Kelly, like you mentioned, and, probably has a better chance of seeing the field at some point than he would necessarily at Ohio State. So,
yeah, it's totally possible. And again, his dad massively overperformed as a college quarterback. And for any of you who are college football fans back then, no one in the Northwestern family is going to be so quick to tack the "but it was at UNH" addendum onto that, because we faced those Chip Kelly teams in that era, and it did not go well for Northwestern. So, There certainly is that possibility, and the production is there. And he did have Cincinnati, Syracuse, BC, Purdue offers. He's 6 feet tall, which is, if you're talking a quarterback that Northwestern recruited who was 6 feet tall, or really close to 6 feet tall, 6 foot, 6'1", 6'2", who was recruited by Northwestern and then had success for Northwestern, you have to go all the way back to Kane Coulter, who committed in 2010. So it's a long time, and it's a really short list of quarterbacks. So that's the kind of thing you're up against. And also too, in the transfer portal era, for Northwestern, he pretty much matches up or exceeds the level of quarterback Northwestern's been getting commitments from the past 5-6 years, really since Clayton Thorson. But
I want to add on that specific point, because I think there's a really good chance, given your commentary about could he have walked on Ohio State, et cetera, like the other piece of this is like he gets to get a Northwestern degree.
Mm-hmm.
And having a quarterback on the roster who is here for the degree and the offensive coordinator, and that portends a guy that's going to stay for a few years, and whether or not he sees the field on game day, like there's tremendous value in having that kind of consistency in your quarterback room and in your team. So I like.
And a guy sired from the coaching greats, including his father, and a guy who probably wants to be a coach someday. Like that's the kind of guy you want in a locker room.
And growing up as a coach's son, you are around the program all the time. So he has, he's lived in the locker room forever, and you have that kind of institutional knowledge coming in. That's huge.
Yep. And again, this is like Scott said, it's a guy who's there for the degree. This is a guy who's not chasing NIL, I'm sure. And he's going to be in the mix, but he's also going to be a big voice in the locker room. And Chip, I'm sure, is, whether it's Aiden Childs or whoever, Chip's going to be trying to bring a 4 or 5-star guy in, either through recruiting or through the portal every single year. So that's one thing does not change by the other. So, this is a big win, and it certainly also got Northwestern in the news cycle.
We also got news today on Tuesday that Jack Frassetto, a 6'4" edge rusher out of Lawrenceville School in New Jersey, he committed today. Don't know much about him yet, but he's exciting. He had offers from Syracuse, Pitt, Miami. in Minnesota. So that,
big guy, 6'4", 220. So like Patty Fisher size, depending if you view him as a linebacker, he's a Patty Fisher size linebacker.
Yeah, first defensive commit of the class of 27. So
I was thinking about this earlier, but I'm sure all you listening are too. It's all in the transfer portal era, following like just the normal recruiting cycle is so like, I'm like, oh man, like more recruits coming in, and then a couple offensive linemen were putting official visit videos up today involving hilariously corded purple telephones, like making Gordon Gekko-esque phone calls on their purple corded telephones. It was the 80s all over again, but it was awesome. But it's just like, between that and all the transfers, I'm just like, oh, it's very hard to keep track of it all. It really is. And, you have to take these moments to kind of take stock. Where are we again? Okay. Like, this is how many guys we have, etc. But there's just a lot going on.
Anything else to mention before we get out of here tonight?
So I got two things. One is pertinent to this conversation, and the other is a little bit of like navel gazing, and Eric goes on a roundabout or a walkabout. The first is the WNBA is back.
Hell yeah.
And Veronica Burton
yes,
remains exceptional. She's the face of the Valkyries. She has put up 2 insane stat lines in the first 2 games of the year, including her second game, in which I think she had 14 assists and 0 turnovers. Maybe it was 13 and 0. Either way, there was a stat I saw where she's now tied for second in the WNBA all time in terms of number of games where she's had 10 plus assists and 0 turnovers. She has 4 such games. Sue Bird is the only person with more, who has 7. And it is highly plausible, given how early she is in her career, that she can put pressure on that number 7. And it's just so exciting to see the way her career has progressed, the second chance that she's gotten with Golden State after the initial years with the Wings coming out of the draft. And it's just awesome. So take an opportunity to watch some excellent Valkyries basketball and cheer on Northwestern's own Veronica Burton. The other piece so I'm having quite the spring professional postseason experience this year.
Yeah.
In that
we are at war, my friend.
Yeah, we are. Sam and I are at war. So the Timberwolves are facing they knocked out Denver, and then now they're facing the Spurs. Sam's wife is from San Antonio originally. And then on the hockey side of things, first, the Minnesota Wild faced off against the Dallas Stars, which is less of an issue with Sam, but now they're facing the Colorado Avalanche. But in particular, I don't exactly know how to word this. I think I had a better phrase in my head earlier in the night when I was contemplating bringing this up. But the Timberwolves are really, really stressing like a lot of the preconceived like things I've thought about with regard to fandom in sports, namely in that they have a bunch of people and personalities associated with them that I would generally be like highly opposed to. Namely, 2 of their main contributors are Illinois guys, and like prominent Illinois guys in Terrence Shannon and Ayo DeSumo. And then they're also partially owned by Alex Rodriguez, one of my least favorite baseball players of all time. And I find myself like obviously rooting for them, but also like struggling a little bit with it. And then of course there's also, the Wild played Dallas in the first round, and I lived in Dallas. You
have to at least briefly mention the French guy nobody likes.
Well, yeah, Gobert, yeah, 100%. So I guess it's a testament to Anthony Edwards and how awesome he is that I find myself like easily rooting for this Timberwolves team that I would otherwise have many, many reasons to dislike. I was also not a Timberwolves fan growing up, other than Kevin Garnett was awesome and we all thought he was cool. And then similarly, like, the Wild came into existence when I was already at Northwestern. I was already being pulled into Sam's orbit as an Avs fan and into Chicago orbit as a Blackhawks fan. And then found myself living in Dallas within walking distance of the Stars Arena, which I started going to games regularly and became kind of like I used to hate you all because you took a hockey team out of the state of Minnesota, but now you're in my backyard, and so I'm kind of enjoying you. And those two teams played in the first round of the playoffs. So it's been a very like sports fandom existential experience this spring, and I'm both enjoying it and also like questioning my sanity.
I mean, that said, I mean, the Wild are a phenomenal. I mean, they're fantastic. They're so much fun to watch, and like you've got Colorado, who's probably the best team in the league. I mean, I know Carolina might have something to say about that later on, but like this has been a fun series. You know, just a lot of back and forth. I mean, yes, Colorado is up 3-1 as we record this, but I mean, it's been a fun series. And then, you know, the Timberwolves Spurs series has been a lot of fun as well.
I feel like both these sports are having like renaissance is not the right word, but they're both as good as I can remember either sport in the years that I've been a fan.
Yeah, I think I completely agree with you on that for sure.
For the last couple things I'll tack on. First is I'll tack on something on the back of what Scuzz said about Veronica Burton. Thanks to the WNBA CBA, fantastically, in addition to being a phenomenal basketball player, Veronica Burton's also making a lot of money. She is, I think, the second highest paid player on the Valkyries. The Valkyries are also valued as the WNBA's most valuable franchise. They're valued at like something like $850 million. So she's the second highest paid player on an $850 million organization. So that's fantastic. Also, tangentially related to that, the Tennessee Titans picked up Pete Skoronski's fifth-year option, which has a massive payment balloon. So their hope, I think, is picking that up, but they're going to try to renegotiate a new long-term deal with him, which is going to make him a massive amount of money. But as of right now, he's on the books for I think $27 million for the 2027 season or something like that. And that, combined with Veronica Burton, combined with Rashawn Slater, would give Northwestern a top 3 highest paid player on 3 different professional sports teams, which, considering that we're the 4 for 40 university that's based on getting your degree and life after sports and everything, that's pretty wild to think about. And the other thing I'll just add, taking it back to baseball, just because, again, it's been such a down season for the baseball team, Jack Lausch has obviously been a really big bright spot. And he's hitting .310, 14 home runs, which, as mentioned earlier, is 11th in the Big Ten, 39 RBIs. And he's been one of the best defensive players in the conference. I mean, he's so good out in center field. He's made multiple highlight reel catches out there. He's just having a fantastic baseball season, the kind of baseball season he deserves to have, the kind of baseball season every Northwestern fan wanted to see him have when he moved over from football. So, again, that's a bright spot. And, you know, in a season that haven't had many for the baseball team, Lausch has been it, and it's been something that every Northwestern fan can celebrate.
So with that, we'll go ahead and leave it there for tonight. Head to our website, westlawpirates.com, where you can leave comments and questions. Find us on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, Blue Sky, YouTube, at Westlaw Pirates. And you can always email us, westlawpirates@gmail.com. Tune in next time as we give our visceral and statistical views on Northwestern athletics, and look for us in the west side of Ryan Field flying the red pirate flag, because we give no quarter, especially the fourth. For John Lacombe and Eric Scasbo, I'm Sam Walter. Thanks so much for listening. We'll see you next time.